Welcome back to Champion News Talk Radio, brought to you by championnews.net, where you can get all of the teachers' salaries and all of this information. Now, during the break, we were talking about the differentiation between public sector unions and private sector unions. And what we are discussing here are the public sector unions, which come from taxpayer dollars, not private sector unions, which come from the customers and the shareholders and things like that. So
right, we don't have any. The Tea Parties don't have any issues with private sector unions. We this is all public sectors. By the way,
which is taxpayer dollars.
Which is taxpayer dollars, and really, you know, I haven't seen any indication where the taxpayer is well served by that arrangement right now. I mean, the taxpayer has taken it on the chin forever. Now it is basically extortion, because the public union has taken no ownership for this ramp up of all this dough, right? Their belief is to say if you can't afford it, sure they are.
State.
Yeah. And the lawmakers should get the blame because at the end of the day, they're the executives that are in charge of it. But the union public union has not been an organization that's been good for their shareholders. And now they're going to find out, I mean, the taxpayers, now they're going to find out they haven't been good for the members either. Because when you let the public union members, because they put them in a situation.
We're largely talking teachers here. Because the comparison between, say, the Teamsters are supposed to be pretty tough, but they're pussycats compared to the teachers union, because the Teamsters, in the end, the customers are only going to pay so much for that service. Right. So they're constrained by that.
Right, the market always wins.
Businessmen that hire Teamsters can only afford to say so much. Then the customers say, ouch, and that's the end of that.
Right.
But there hasn't been any ouch that was listened to by our crummy politicians downstate.
Right.
Why? Because the teachers union is extremely powerful at the federal and the state level, and these politicians like Mr. Madigan, oh, he looks so great and wonderful, great politician. Why? Because he's getting tons of money out of the teachers union down there, and he can do what he doggone wants.
Right. You know, you asked me this a couple times. Let me answer the question, what I heard from the public union at the Civic Committee meeting. And it was amazing because I heard it verbatim there. One of the statements that the public union leader said in there is that teachers only make $31,000 a year in their pensions on average in the state of Illinois, right?
That's a flat-out lie.
It is.
A lie.
Ty Fainer,
no truth.
Turned around, looked at it, and so did both of the representatives, saying that is not true at all. The average teacher pension in the state, we're talking about the whole state, is $61,000. So it's doubled. Now, in the Chicago area, it's quite a bit more than that. In some parts of downstate Illinois, it's lower than
their cost of living is lower.
It's lower, but basically
a lot lower.
What they're not counting, and Ty Fainer did a good job on this one. He said, "Listen, what you're counting in your numbers are people who spend 3 or 4 or 5 years in teaching and then go do something else. We're talking about comparing full-time employees. So if you retire with 20 or 25 years plus in Illinois, the average is $61,000 a year. This, again,
some are 300,000.
Right.
Some are less than 60.
Those are not teachers, though. The rank and file teachers.
Those are administrators.
Those are all your superintendents
there are
and administrators.
many teachers, though, that are getting pensions up in the area of $150,000, $160,000 a year too. But the average, and there are 130,000 teachers in there, and there are all of these people that have already retired, and they're getting an average of $61,000. Your Social Security is $14,000.
$14,000. That's exactly right, and that's what was brought up.
That's 1/4 as much for full-time jobs.
Right.
Where they're making $61,000
teachers are
for is a little more than a half-time on the job.
And
working 10 years longer as well.
And working 10 years longer.
Amazing. What else did the union say?
The other thing too is the fact they went around the room and and the moderator did, and said to each person, so the head of the Pacific Committee, head of the union, then the two representatives said, would you be in favor of raising, changing the cost of living, indexing it against Social Security? Everybody agreed except for the union, said, no, we don't agree with that. Then they went down and they asked them, would you agree to raising the retirement age? Everybody agreed with that except for the union. And then the moderator asked the union, said, what would you agree with? He goes, a more progressive tax increase.
Yeah.
It's the same
They
story.
just want it on the taxpayer back.
So this is the dated shtick that I remember hearing in the early days of my experience in this, where they're looking back and trying to say, you know, the common man is being victimized here by big business. That argument is 90 years
Jeff
old.
Tucek, you were around when the private companies, the large corporations, went bankrupt.
They went bankrupt.
With this similar kind of thing was forced down their throats, and some of these businessmen were stupid enough when times were good to give away the store,
You're right.
and it bankrupted them.
Illinois is bankrupt, but now you're saying they're not willing to adjust the age, retirement age. They're not willing to adjust any of the cost of living.
Right,
They're
so-
not willing to compromise. The unions.
They're not willing to compromise.
What did they?
Union
what-
leaders. I don't
union
know about the
leaders.
rank and file, but the union leaders. Right.
Now, what did the union leaders say to you when they said we have to do something? What was their threat?
Well, their threat is that they're taking the taxpayer to court. So at the end of the day, you know, they're saying, well, if we have to settle this in court, we'll settle this in court.
And let's talk about kicking the can down the road. How long could that take?
It would take for years, but you know what? My point of view is let them take us to court. Let them take us to
In
court.
the next session, I want to get into another outrageous thing, is there has just been an election of the chairman of the Republican Party for Cook County, and it's a travesty.